Hi folks, welcome back. So about a month ago, I'd made this video about how I'm using Claude Code in my home directory as an everything agent, not just as a coding agent. And I've been doing that pretty regularly for about a month. So I wanted to make an update video on how that's going, what's working well, what I had to change, what's not working well, and so on. So go watch that video just to get the background of what I'm trying to do, and then you can come back and watch this one. All right, so overall, I would say it is going pretty well in that I use it now to do quite a lot of tasks that I would otherwise just try to hammer out on the command line. And I'll show you in a minute the kinds of workflows that I've been using it for and the workflows that it has built for me over time. But the really cool thing is that it's been adding workflows on its own. So autonomously, it's getting better. It's learning about my flows and it's getting better and better for the kinds of things that I've been doing. So this is the main file, homedir Claude.md, and this is linked as Claude.md in my top level home directory. By the way, I use this setup both with Claude Code as well as Codex CLI. For Codex CLI, I have to symlink agent.md to this file. So let's look at this file one more. I've had to tweak parts of it over the last month as I've been using it. So these intro parts are more or less the same. It says just a little bit about you. This directory structure is really important. This is telling it which directories to mostly work in and the directories that I care about. And then I have a home/agent directory, which is the main area that the agent uses as its scratch space. So it's important to tell the agent about this directory. Within it, by far the most important subdirectory is the memories directory. And this is where the learning and remembering of new workflows happens. The main thing I had to change from when I started to now is being very explicit about this main execution loop. So what I want to happen is that I wanted to first look at my memories to see if there's a workflow for the thing I'm asking it to do. And if there is, I wanted to follow that workflow. And only if there isn't, I wanted to come up with something on its own based on its world knowledge or web search or whatever. And that's what I'm telling it here. Critical, follow every time, and I'm using all caps and trying to make it sound really urgent. So step one is stop and search memories mandatory. And if a workflow exists, use it exactly as written. Otherwise, plan your approach and then execute that workflow. And then this step is really important. This is capturing new workflows. So if I asked it to do something that it doesn't have a workflow for, and then I either accept the way it planned it out based on its world knowledge, or I kind of nudged it along and gave it some hints. At the end of it, it'll save that workflow as a new markdown file in the memories directory. And then I repeat myself again with lots of these bright red emojis saying that you always have to check memory. Don't just rush ahead on your own without checking memories. And you may think this is overkill, but the reason I had to do it was that not Sonnet 4.5, but the previous model, 4.1, was actually not obeying these instructions often enough that it was a nuisance, and I had to put in all these very strongly worded instructions. It would often not check memories and go straight ahead and try to plan things on its own. Codex, by the way, is much, much better at this, and I was surprised at how obedient Codex is and how good Codex is at following this exactly. And here's a bit more about automatic workflow capture. So this is the cool part, which is that as I do more and more things with it, as I do new things that I didn't know about before, my store of memories and workflows keeps growing. And yeah, this part is also pretty important, telling it about the environment. I always want to use UV for Python package management, but also for running Python. I never wanted to install any package globally or even install Python itself. So even if you want to run Python, you have to do it through UV, and that just keeps my environment nice and clean. So let me show you my memories folder because it has grown quite a bit over time. So I have done things like publish blog posts. I have a Hugo website that is driven by a bunch of markdown files. And in the past, I would have to do a lot of this by hand. Now, this kind of automates all that, comes up with the right slugs and titles, does a bunch of verification. So this is nice. And after publishing, even does some live verification. So all this automation is nice. And this, by the way, I didn't write this entire workflow out. I nudged it along the first time I did it, and then it saved this. Another interesting one is I asked it to normalize the audio levels in one of my videos, and I just told it to use FFmpeg, and it figured most of the parameters and the various filters that it had to use on its own, and then it wrote it all out to this workflow file. And so in all future instances, I don't have to leave it to the LLM to use its world knowledge. It can just use this workflow file. And as you can see, there are tons of workflows over here. The vast majority of these I haven't written by hand. I've just been conversationally interacting with the agent, and it has picked up these workflows over time. So on the whole, I've been pleasantly surprised at how useful this has been. It has really saved me a lot of banging my head on the command line for esoteric things that I could figure out, but I don't really care to. Things like FFmpeg filters and long command lines and things like that. So this has been really great. Any downsides? No downsides really. As I showed you in this Claude file, I've been refining the instruction in this file over time, but I don't think I've touched it in the last couple of weeks. So it's been fairly stable for me. One downside is that it's a bit of a litter bug. So sometimes, for example, it'll leave workflows in my memories folder that I think are way too specific. Yeah, so this is a good example. I wanted it to copy files out of an SD card, and when I gave it the instruction, I mentioned my DJI Osmo, and so it wasn't smart enough to figure out that this is for any SD card and not just for the DJI Osmo. So there are times when it doesn't generalize enough. That's one nitpick I have. The other nitpick I have is that, like I was saying, it's a bit of a litter bug. But with the new instructions that I've given it, most of the project-specific temporary files go into this directory, the projects directory. So if you go look inside this projects directory, you'll see a lot of kind of temporary files, and that is fine. Projects I've git ignored. So now it's good enough about following instructions that most of its temporary files for individual requests go in here, but sometimes the instruction following will slip up and it'll leave some temporary files in other directories that I don't want it to. But yeah, overall, I've been pretty happy with it. As you can see, my list of workflows is pretty long, and it's been saving me a ton of time. Hope you found that helpful. If you like content like this, consider subscribing, like the video, and I'll see you next time.